The College Basketball Experience Conference USA 24-25 season preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with that promo code TCESGPN to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. That is the Underdog Fantasy promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and NFL with that Rhythm. Get over there, 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the College Basketball Experience. CUSA, baby. Conference USA. Oh, man, this is going to be a fun one. Very balanced league. Home court means something. Got some good traditions. Another really good college basketball league as we tick down to November 4th. 1 week away, guys. 1 week from today, we will be doing our first preview and pick show for the Monday slate. I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight over here at the College Experience, and bringing this guy on to talk CUSA. You guys know him as the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving, Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. Noah, 1 week to go, baby. The countdown is on.
Super excited. I am feeling terrible today, though. Allergies are always really bad for me. I'm almost allergic to, literally everything. I even own a dog, and I'm allergic to him, but love the dog. I love my dog. So, anyways, I'm on plenty of drugs, and I'm just congested, and my voice is very nasally, so that's what's up today. But very excited to talk Conference USA. Mac, I'm going to go out and I'm going to say this 2 minutes into the show. My favorite mid-major league this season, Conference USA. I think a Conference USA team is winning a game in the NCAA tournament this year. I think this conference is so damn deep. In the media poll, 5 teams received first-place votes. There was so much retention from last year. Last year, this team was damaged by conference realignment. They add Kennesaw State this season, which I don't think they're going to be very good, but they're adding teams at least this season. And last year, a lot of them were young squads. This year, there's some really old rosters here. And with old rosters come really good experience. So I think one of these teams are winning an NCAA tournament game this year, Mac. Last year, in this conference, I was pretty down on it. I'm not going to lie. I pretty much handicapped this thing great in the preseason, other than my actual picks. Liberty was all 3 of our picks to win this conference. You, myself, and Colby. Liberty did not win this conference. I also picked Liberty to win the conference tournament. Colby took Western Kentucky, so shout out to him with the tops on that prediction. And you were on Jacksonville State. We didn't do a sleeper or a bust prediction for this conference, but that is kind of a little bit of a recap, a little bit of a overview going into this season. Mac, anything else that you want to add before we start hitting on some of these teams individually, alphabetical order team previews?
The only thing I would add, Noah, like you said, they add Kennesaw, so now they have 10. It's a smaller league. You get a true champion with the home and homes. And last year, home court was king in this league. I remember teams could not buy a road win outside of Sam Houston State and Louisiana Tech that found a way to start winning some road games. But that was kind of the theme in this league. Home court ruled. I do
out
agree.
Of 72 conference games, 52 home teams won. 72.2%. That was the number one rate in college basketball last year.
Yep. And that's we had Hank Ploma on from Western Kentucky, and he talked about that at length. It's just how balanced this league is, and it's going to be balanced. And you got some good traditions here. I mean, you got obviously Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, Liberty making the step up another year in this league. We'll see how they translate. But yeah, let's get into it. We'll see USA.
Yeah, let's jump into this. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a really, really good league this year. Alphabetical order, the first team that we're going to talk about today is the Florida International Panthers, aka the Pit Bulls, because I mean that's the athletic department right now. They're being ran on Pit Bulls money. 11-22 overall last season, 5-11 in conference, which was good for ninth, aka last in conference USA. Florida International loses two players that were on the floor for more than 27 minutes per game, and Arturo Dean, who transferred to Oklahoma State. And honestly, I didn't think he was too much of a contributor to FIU last season. They also lost Javante Hawkins, who ran out of eligibility. But the Panthers still have a rotation of probably 9 guys that are all upperclassmen, juniors and seniors. I'm not sure if this team has that go-to scorer on the roster. Nobody really jumps off the page as their best player here. But I like the experience on this team. They have 4 guys that played double-digit minutes a season ago for this roster coming back. Deshaun Gittins, who put up 9.5 points, 3.5 boards, 2 assists. Jaden Lipscomb, who played 18 minutes, averaged 6 points, 1.5 assists, shot at 36% from the floor. They also have 6'9" senior forward Jonathan Ibar, who played 22 minutes last season, averaged 7 and 3.5 with over a steal per game in the front court. And then Jaden Brewer, 6'6" junior, who played 17.5 minutes last season. Also, actually, George Pridgett also played 10.5 minutes last year. So they bring back 5 guys that played double-digit minutes a season ago. In the transfer portal, they bring in Akeem Jones, who's going to probably start in the backcourt. He averaged 4.8 assists per game at Southern Idaho last season. He was ranked 49th by JUCO recruiting.com in their junior college transfer portal rankings. He averaged 17.5 points per game, 4 boards. Akeem Jones, 6'2" junior point guard. He comes in. He's probably going to run the show. Who's going to be able to shoot the ball, I don't know. Outside of Lipscomb, not very efficient from deep. But the front court's old. I think it'll be one of the better ones in the league here. Mac, what are your thoughts on the Panthers?
Yeah, I think the best way to describe FIU under Jeremy Ballard's been inconsistent. I mean, we've seen them pop up and pull upsets at home mainly. Headed into his 7th year now leading this program. Year 1, he won 20 games, and he won 19. They have failed to win more than 15 in the last 5 years, the last 4 years. I kind of feel like they're going to be in the bottom tier again. I know that they do bring back some experience. They are older, but I question how good the experience is compared to some of these other teams. So I definitely will have them in the bottom half. I think the ceiling for them probably would be middle of the pack.
I've been loving the chat today. Avetta talking about the airport, which is Colby's nickname for Florida International, and also Tyler with the Dale from Pitbull. He also mentions that Southern Idaho to Miami is quite the change of scenery. So that's a good point. Stemming off of what you said about Jeremy Ballard, I mean, he's been at the helm for 4 straight losing conference seasons. During that sample of seasons, the defense has never finished better than 3rd worst defensive efficiency via KenPom in Conference USA. Offensively, not much better, as they haven't finished as a top half team during that sample size. In a league that has so much retention and experience this season, this isn't a culture that I'm willing to put faith in having a solid year in the conference. So prove me wrong, FIU Pitbulls, with the new mantra and swagger in the athletic department, but I don't think this is going to be a very good year just by the nature of how strong the conference is going to be this season, in my opinion. Next up for us, alphabetically, is the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. 14-18 overall last season, 6-10 in conference. They finished 8th, which was AKA second. to last in the Conference USA last season. Jacksonville State returns the second least minutes from a season ago, but hey, that might be a good thing for Ray Harper after an 8th place finish in Jacksonville State's first season in Conference USA. Mac, sorry. Mac, I know this is your boy, Harper. What do you think about his program this year, and do you know anything about his transfer portal haul here?
So Harp has always been really good with the junior college guys. So like you said, maybe alluding to maybe a blessing in disguise, not bringing back as much production off of last year's team that was a little bit disappointing. 14-18, 6-10 overall. He's won in this league before. He was the head coach of Western Kentucky from, I think, 2011 to 2016. So I think Harp and company, I think that they take a little bit of a step forward here in year number 2, making that jump. You mentioned it. They went from the ASUN to Conference USA, struggled a little bit last year. I think this portal class and this JUCO class could help them make a jump here.
Yeah, so speaking of the portal class, not many junior college. He's straying a little bit away from that trend. Yao Ituka comes in from Wake Forest. He didn't play last season, but he only played 8 minutes the season prior. Jamar Franklin comes in from Georgia Southern after playing 16.5 minutes for the Eagles there, shot at 36% from deep. Jaron Pierre Jr. transfers in from Grambling State. He also did not play last season. So he played at Wichita State during 2022-23. Played 28 minutes for the Shockers, 10.5 points to the leaderboards. I also bring in Marcus Fitzgerald, a 6'2 grad senior from Tennessee State. Played 26 minutes for the Tigers last season. Corey Cotton is a 6'6 redshirt freshman coming in from VMI. He only played 12 games last season, so he got a medical redshirt, according to our good friend Jim Root's roster sheet here. Coming in from Charlotte is Yaroslav Niagu. He's 7-footer. He's a sophomore, played 7 minutes last season. Michael Hooge comes in from St. Peter's. The 6'7 senior played 17.5 minutes last season, averaged 8.5 and 5 boards per game. And then Ben Bayala, a 6'6 grad senior from East Carolina, transfers in here. 2 returnees that are expected to play a lot more minutes this season. Marcellus Brigham, who averaged 7.7 points per game, 4.5 boards, and Mason Nicholson. Both of these guys are going to probably play a lot in the front court this season. But overall, Mac, I'm not relatively high on this new group. I've got Jacksonville State finishing the bottom half of the conference this year. Anything that you would like to counter me on here?
Yeah, I probably would put them in the bottom half as well. You mentioned just these other teams and these other programs are just feels like a roster ahead of them. And Jack State, I think it'll take a minute to get these guys to mesh. I mean, you mentioned all the new faces coming in, and I know Harp has a track record of winning with different personalities, different egos, but I think they'll be playing their best ball in February.
All righty. Before we get to the rest of the teams here that we're going to preview, thanks as always, honestly, for tuning in to the college experience here on YouTube or wherever you listen to this on the podcast platforms. If you have the time, which you're listening to an ad right now, go over there and it'll take 5 seconds for us. Give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, because it helps us tremendously on the algorithm over there. Also, leave a like here on YouTube and subscribe, because only you guys can prevent corporate gambling from taking over. And speaking of, Underdog Fantasy supports us, and we're asking you to support us by enjoying their product, because they have one of the biggest menus for all of sports, whether it comes from NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NBA, NASCAR, NHL, or college basketball season when this thing rolls around in a week. Boosttober is upon us right now, which means that you're getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and so much more when it comes to specials and boosts, because every NBA pick'em entry up until October 27th is going to be boosted. So you've got 3 hours now. If you're listening to this right now, you got 3 more hours to get these things in. You can use these specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Sign up today with promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick, plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. And we are back here on the College Basketball Experience, previewing the Conference USA for the 2024-25 season. Next up for us in alphabetical order is the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Last year, they were 22-10 overall, 12-4 in conference. They finished second in Conference USA. Last year, I took a 6-1 shot on Louisiana Tech to win this league, and they dropped a home game to the eventual outright champion, Sam Houston, during the final week of the season. Still a bitter taste in my mouth, and I'm sure these guys are kicking themselves after letting the regular season championship slip and also losing their first game of the conference tournament by one possession to Middle Tennessee State, who they beat by 14 points just 3 days prior. So that was a kick in the dick, if I have to say so myself. La Tech does lose Isaiah Crawford, 16.5 points per game, 6 boards, 2.5 assists, 2 steals, and 1.5 blocks per game. Guy was just a stat sheet stuffer. It's a big loss, but 6'11" Daniel Bacho, the best big in this league, and also preseason player of the year for Conference USA, returns for his 5th season of college basketball after basically a 15-point double-double with 2.5 blocks per game last season. I also like that Sean Newen returns as a senior point guard here, who had 5 assists last season, and Talvin Hester brings in 3 power conference transfer gambles, and Amory Abram from Georgia Tech, William Jeffress from Pitt, and Caden Cooper via Oklahoma. Mac, the Bulldogs are going to be in contention in the Conference USA once again this season, in my opinion. How about yours?
Absolutely, especially because Bacho's back. Bacho started his career at Texas Tech. He's a high major big playing at Louisiana Tech. You mentioned it, though. I mean, last year was a prove-it year for Talvin Hester. That was why I was hesitant, because he was only in his second year last year. They make the jump from 15 to 22. The roster wasn't the question. It was can this coaching staff prove it, and they did. So now can they build off of what they got last year? I think they do, man. I think that they're in the top 4 again, and I think they have a shot to win the regular season. I'm with you. Bacho's a game changer just from a defensive standpoint with his rim protection.
Yeah, 100%. I really like this roster. Honestly, I think they're pretty damn close to a front runner to win this league. Mac, I skipped over a team on accident in alphabetical order. Kennesaw State was supposed to be next. Let's go over there and jump over the Owls, because Louisiana Tech was quick. I really like what they have. And honestly, I don't know if we have to go too much in depth on that roster. Like I mentioned, the high major transfers, and also Bacho's just such a big contributor to the Bulldogs. I really like that squad. Let's talk about Kennesaw State. These Owls, though, their first year in Conference USA this season. Last year they were 15-16 overall, 6-10, which was 9th in the Atlantic Sun Conference last season. Mac, we saw what happened when Liberty joined Conference USA last season. They struggled. They finished under 500 in conference. And like Colby mentioned in last year's preview, he called this thing the ASUN may be a better basketball league, may have been a better basketball league for last year we're talking about. But Conference USA has way better home environments. Like it's exponentially better across the board. The Liberty Flames went 1-7 in their 8 conference road games. This version of Kennesaw State is not better than last year's Liberty team was in the preseason. And in fact, 72.2% of Conference USA's home teams won their games last season. Like I said at the top of the show, that was the best home conference win percentage in the country. Mac, this is a simple handicap for me. Growing pains for the new little guy with 8 first-year players, right?
Yeah, I mean, Antoine Petaway headed into his second year. It's hard to see them not being in the basement down there with FIU and maybe another team or two. But I'm with you. I think it takes a year transition. You're right. They're not as good as Liberty. Last year, Liberty was light years ahead from a roster standpoint, and they struggled in this league. Kennesaw, they're not like they were under Abdur Rahim a couple years ago. Rest in peace. So it's Kennesaw. I think that they'll struggle this year in their first year in Conference USA.
Yeah, the one player to know on this roster is Simeon Cottle, who is a 6'1" junior point guard, averaged 15.5 points per game last season, 3 boards, 2.5 assists, over steal per game, shot at 42% from the field, 34% from three, and he was a volume shooter last season. So he's once again going to be a pretty damn good player on the squad. But, I mean, Ricardo Wright is a fifth-year senior coming in from SMU. That's a nice get for Kennesaw State. And they also bring in Andre Weir from Florida Gulf Coast. He played 13.5 minutes for them in the ASUN last season as well. RJ Johnson comes back after playing 16 minutes. Rongi Gordon is a 6'8" graduate senior forward, comes back after playing 18.5 minutes. And then Franquan Sherman played 15 minutes last season. He's a 6'7" sophomore. But yeah, Kennesaw State's roster, and I don't think the outlook is very positive for this team in year one in Conference USA.
And Pettaway's a young coach still, too. I mean, coming over from Nate Oates' tree, it's only his second year as a head coach. He's still in the prove-it phase for me.
Yeah, very much so. Let's talk about those Liberty Flames next. 18-14 last year overall. 7-9 in the conference, tied for fourth in Conference USA. It was a tough year for Richie McKay, as we've previously mentioned here during the show a couple times now. Liberty returns 3 starters, and specifically 2 of them are really little guards. 5'9" point guard Colin Porter put up 8, 3, and 4 and shot 36% from deep last year, while 5'10" Caden Matheny is the Batman, the Porter's Robin, as Matheny averaged 13.5 points per game, 3.5 boards, 2.5 assists while shooting at 41% from 3, 45% from the field. 6'7" forward Zach Cleveland also returns after a 12-point, 6.5 rebound, 4 assist season, shooting 59% from the field. Richie McKay has only had 7 losing conference seasons in his 27-year career. Mac, the Flaming Libs are going to be in Conference USA contention this year, I think.
Yeah, I like the guards. I know they're a little bit undersized, but I mean they're shot makers. A big fan of Matheny. He was a West Virginia kid. Started at Bowling Green. I like the backcourt there with Porter as well. I think I'm with you, man. I think they took it on the chin a little bit, and their version of taking it on the chin was 7-9. Richie McKay, proven winner. I think that they bounce back in a big way this year. I'm with you. I think that they're in contention. They may even win the regular season. I think that they address what they need to address from a roster standpoint in the offseason based off of going through the Conference USA gauntlet. And I think they'll be ready to rock and roll this year.
Coming in from the transfer portal, they add Talon Peter, who was a D2 transfer from Arkansas Tech. He averaged 18.5 points per game, almost 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, just over 1.5 steals per game, shot at 41% from 3. Isaiah Eden comes in from Minnesota, only played 11.5 minutes, but he's a 6'9" forward, and Minnesota's been really good in the front court lately. They've just produced big man after big man. And Josh Smith comes in from Stetson, played 22.5 minutes last year for the Hatters, 8.5 points per game, 5.5 boards. And then a D2 transfer from Cedarville, Javon Malmer. He is a 6'6" senior, put up 20 points per game, 5.5 boards, 3 assists, shot at 41% from 3 as well. They also bring in the number 6th ranked recruit from the junior college transfer portal, according to JUCOrecruiting.com, Owen Aquino, who put up 15 points per game, 8.5 boards, 4.5 assists at Eastern Florida State. So this is, in my opinion, a really good roster, and the up transfers from D2 or NAIA or junior college are all really good shooters here on this roster. And you're surrounded by Colin Porter, who had 4 assists per game, and Caden Matheny, who already shot 41% from deep in this conference last season. So this is a really damn good roster. Anything else you want to add on Liberty here?
Yeah, and this would qualify as a culture play as well. I mean, Liberty, really good at home in Lynchburg. McKay, This is the first time since coming back to Liberty since 2016 that they did not win 20 games. So they're going to be improved. They're going to be a lot better. Big bounce back here for the Flaming Libs.
Yeah, 1-7 on the road. 6-2 at home last year. So
Got to win a couple on the road, Liberty.
Very good home court environment. You got to steal 2 or 3 more games on the road to win this league, I think, in my opinion.
Yep.
Middle Tennessee State is next up for us alphabetically here. Last year they were 14-19 overall, 7-9 in conference, tied for 4th in Conference USA. After starting the year 6-13 overall and 0-4 in conference, McDevitt's squad finished the season stronger than they started. The entire backcourt returns, including double-digit point scorers Justin Porter and Cameron Weston. And Middle Tennessee also landed Issam Mustafa from TCU and Kamari Lands from Arizona State in the transfer portal. The rotation is going to have 8 seniors in it, and this is the oldest squad in the Conference USA this preseason, according to Torvik. Mac, I've got the Blue Raiders having a better season overall than they did last year, but by virtue of the Conference USA being better than it was last year, I think MTSU lands kind of around the same spot in this year's league standings, kind of around the 4th, 5th place finish this season.
So back-to-back 4th place finishes, you mentioned it, they were on basically auto fade for a little bit there when they started the league, I think 2-7, then they finished strong. They pulled the upset in the first round against Louisiana Tech. I'm with you. Medved, I mean, he's been consistent there. I mentioned it coming over from Asheville. Back-to-back 4th place finishes. I do think that they take a step back. They are 2nd in returning production as well. It's 62% of their minutes, and you hit the nail on the head. They are the oldest team, slightly over Western Kentucky, their rival in this league. So I think middle of the pack is perfect for Middle Tennessee, the Blue Raiders here. They're another team that's going to be really good at home. They got a good
100%.
They have a good home court advantage, just like Western Kentucky, just like Liberty. They'll protect home court and be a pain in the ass to win in Murfreesboro.
It's a great cop-out answer to Conference USA, isn't it?
Yes.
Very good home team.
But
yeah, and 2 other returnees from last season, 6'6" senior Justin Buford. Played 30 minutes last season, 7.5 points, 3.5 boards, over assists per game. And also Jacob Johnson, a 6'5" redshirt senior who played 28.5 minutes last season, averaged 5.5 points, 4 boards, shot at 47% from the field. It's a very solid roster. Just, you know, I kind of have them at the same kind of league finish, but I think they're going to be better than they were last year. It's just a tough league. I really like the Conference USA this season. You also know what else you want to know what else I do like? Bet US, because they support SGPN and they've been around, one of the best in the business for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and you can get lightning fast payouts. U.S. players are always welcome with BetUS, of course, and BetUS is live with their Trick or Treat on Horror Street promotion. From now until Halloween, BetUS will be offering daily promos plus a raffle entry to win a sports or casino prize pack that they will give away on October 31st. And you can enter multiple times, plus every $200 deposit gets you 1 extra entry. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. The college basketball experience is also brought to you by Rhythm, the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom predictive models in seconds and predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. Or you could press build a model for me, and Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop. It also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Goodness, my nose is completely clogged because of the pills that I've been taking for my allergies and shit. And I'm a mouth breather by natural habit, but also I can't breathe through my nose at all right now. And just reading these ads, I'm like,
Breathe,
like
breathe.
breathing in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Just oh gosh. All right. New Mexico State is up next for us. That's done. We're home free with the advertisements here on the show.
There we go.
Otherwise, I might die from not being able to breathe from reading straight. But New Mexico State last year, 13-19 overall, 7-9 in the conference. They were tied for fourth in Conference USA. There was a three-way tie for fourth last season in the Conference USA. Honestly, Mac, Jason Hooten's first season in Las Cruces was a smashing success, considering that because of all the shit that hit the fan with the program the year prior, caused
No
the
doubt.
final 2 seasons of the season, the final 2 months of the season to be forfeited. Hooten, of course, came in from Sam Houston, which is known for their strong defense. But last season, the Aggies only ranked 7th in that department out of 9 teams. So they also had the worst offensive efficiency in Conference USA, according to Ken Palm. So I think Hooten actually really overachieved with these guys in 2024. New Mexico State is a really old team this year with 7 seniors probably in their rotation. But there's a lot more moving parts here with the Aggies this season. Talking about the incoming and outgoing from the portal. Tanaj Petway hit the portal after playing 14 minutes. Jalen Jackson Posey played 24.5 minutes. He hit the portal. Femi Adukale hit the portal after playing 28.5 minutes, 10.5 points, 6.5 boards. He was the biggest hit there in the portal for sure. Caleb Dorsey, Davion Bradford, Rakeem Gary, Yak also transferred out, along with Luis Duarte, Clarence Jackson, and Brandon Suggs, Keosi Ezagu, and Jonathan Kanyanga, all out of eligibility and not returning to this roster. Coming in, like I said, this was all over the place. Zadi Jackson comes in from D2 West Georgia, which they were a really good basketball program in D2. Now they're coming up to D1, but he still hit the portal. He was their point guard last season. They didn't have a great season last year, but like I said, they've been a really good program, and he's a senior point guard. Averaged 5.5 assists last season in 35.5 minutes, 22 points per game, 3 boards. He had 1.5 steals per game last season, 45% shooter from 3, 51% from the field. They also bring in Deontay Bostick from Cal State Northridge, who played 33.5 minutes last season, 15.5 points, 4 boards, 1.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game. Shot at 44.5% from the field, 34% from 3. They do return Christian Cook, who played 30 minutes a game for them last season, 11 points per game, 2.5 boards, over assists per game, 35% 3-point shooter. Emmanuel Shamanga comes in from UC San Diego. He's a grad senior, 7-footer, who played 14 minutes a season ago, had 5 boards in those 14 minutes. So if he starts for them, he could turn into a monster here. They also bring in Peter Filippovity, one of my favorite players from last season, from Maine. Honestly, he was one of the guys from the original Cocaine Bears team 2 years ago for us. Filippovity is a graduate senior this year. He's a 6'7" forward who can shoot the lights out of it. He also had 14.5 points per game, 7.5 boards. Also, Carl Sharonfont comes in from Memphis. Edward Namoko comes in from Georgia State, played 15.5 minutes for them last year. And Nate Shinmanga, brother of Emmanuel, is a 6'10" Utah Valley transfer. So he's a senior as well. Mac, New Mexico State's a giant grab bag. I really like, kind of Jason Hooten being able to get last year's squad to overachieve. I feel like they're probably going to have good luck this season compared to last year, but at the same time, it's a whole new roster. So I don't really know what to expect from New Mexico State here.
I was gonna say they all things considered pretty good year.
Yeah.
At least he didn't have anybody murdering anybody this year. So or last year. So that was a step in the right direction, not pulling the trigger there. So but I it's just so much turnover, man. But I do like Hooten, so I will give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that I'm thinking more middle of the pack. I can't see them being in that top tier with Western Kentucky, Louisiana Tech, Liberty. I just think that they're a hair below that, which is all the turnover. But I mean, like you said, man, Hooten's a good coach. He's closing in on 300 career wins. Did a good job at Sam Houston, who ironically is in this league now too. And I think that they got the right guy to run the program, and definitely get the right guy to clean it up from where it was 2 years ago.
100%. Let's move on to Sam Houston, the Bearkats.
His former job.
Yeah. 21-12 overall, 13-3 in conference. Last offseason, Sam Houston promoted Chris Mudge from within, and it paid off in a regular season Conference USA championship in year one. The Bearkats returned 3 starters and 5 players that played 17-plus minutes from that team. I think the squad would be a popular choice to win the league had they not lost their point guard and center, which, of course, I have questions about it. But I do trust this program. So like I said, point guard and center do hit just off the roster. Jaden Ray is graduated, played 26 minutes, had 4.5 assists per game last season, 7 points, 3 boards. And they also lose Devon Barnes, who played 31 minutes, 13.5 points, 3.5 boards, 1.5 assists. And also Suleiman Doumbia, who played 19 minutes, 6.5 boards, 6 rebounds, or 6.5 points, 6 rebounds. He was the starting center last year. Coming in from the portal to play center this season, I believe is going to be Khalifa Sacco from Utah State. He only played 10 minutes last season. I mean, he played behind Great Osobor, so you can give him a little bit of slack there. And also from D2 Southeast Oklahoma State, Brennan Burns. He's a 5'10" point guard senior. Played 33 minutes last season, 17 points per game, 4 boards, 6.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game. Shot at 39.5% from deep, 56.5% from the field. Those two are going to replace the 2 starters from last season, probably start a lot here. And this is another team. 7 seniors in the rotation. Sam Houston's going to be in the contention once again. They're a really good program, and they were, didn't miss a beat under Mudge last season back.
Yeah, Mudge did a great job proceeding or taking over from Coach Hooten, who went over to New Mexico State. 21 wins, 13-3 in their inaugural year. They were also transitioning from the WAC over to Conference USA, so they transitioned well, unlike Liberty and what we think with Kennesaw. So I like Sam Houston. I like these Bearkats once again. I think that they're right there, top 4 team. I think they did lose. They did lose a couple pieces that you alluded to that will hurt them a little bit. But I mean, all things considered, bring back more than half their roster. They're one of the oldest teams as well in this league, and I think Mudge is a pretty good coach. So I like Sam Houston a lot again.
In general, this conference has a lot of experience, a lot of old rosters. I honestly think that it's going to be so competitive this year. So, I really like SHU or SHSU. I don't know if they still keep that abbreviation or not. Let's talk about another abbreviated school here, the UTEP Miners,
Tink, tink.
Texas El Paso. Yes, Tink Tink for sure. Under Joe Golding, who I know you're a big fan of. Honestly, a lot of good retention on this roster as well. UTEP returns 56% of their minutes. From a season ago, they only lose Tay Hardy, who played 33 minutes a game, 15 points, 3 boards, 2.5 assists, over a steal per game. And also Yazid Powell, who played 26.5 minutes, 11 points per game, 5 boards, 3 assists, almost 2 steals per game. Calvin Simon played 19 minutes a season ago. Jonathan Dos Anjos, also all 4 of them out of eligibility. 4 guys at the portal, but none of them really contributed too much. Sebastian Cole played 8.5 minutes per game. Garrett Levesque played 4 minutes per game. And Milos Merrick and Mario McKinney also hit the transfer portal. UTEP didn't really fill a lot of the roster with transfers, more along the lines of developing some sophomores and also bringing in some freshmen. 3 transfers they bring in. Devin Barnes, who played 27.5 minutes, 13 points per game, 2 boards, 2 assists, 1 8.3 steals per game at Tarleton State, shot at 39.5% from three. They also bring in the number 19 junior college transfer recruit, Ahmad Bynum from Trinity Valley. He put up 18.3 points per game, 4.5 boards, 2 assists last season. And then Jordan Hernandez, a 5'11 guard. He's a junior, comes in from Cochise Junior College. I don't know if I said that correctly, but 11 points per game, 4 boards, 5.5 assists. Bringing in 2-point guards from the portal. And overall, like I said, quite a few guys that returned from last season, 4 guys that played at least 16.5 minutes per game. Mac, what are your thoughts on your boy Golden's UTEP Miners roster this year?
They got hot at the end. They won their final 3, and then they carried that on into the tournament. They beat Liberty. They beat Sam Houston before falling to Western Kentucky in the final. I mean, Golding, we saw it at Abilene Christian get that thing to the dance 2 out of 3 years, even win a game when they beat Texas. And Shaka Smart, proven winner at the Division I level. I think he's got UTEP headed in the right direction. Last year was a nice step, bouncing up there into the top 4. So I think UTEP right there, knocking on the door of in that 4 or 5 range of this league. I think they're kind of middle of the pack. But I think that they're going to be dangerous come March again. They
100%. Let's talk. Yeah, they do. Let's talk about the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. Talk about a team that got hot in March, going on a run, winning the conference tournament last season. Steve Lutz takes the job at Oklahoma State. Hank Ploma promoted from within. Mac, you were lucky enough to talk to Ploma in the summer, in the offseason on your summer coaches tour interview series over here on the College Experience. Whether you're listening on YouTube, there's a playlist for it, or on podcast platforms. It's just a little bit farther down the scroll. What did Plona let you know about the roster this season and a couple storylines this year for the Hilltoppers?
I mean, expectations are where they belong at Western Kentucky. They bring back 8 rotational players from that team that got hot, got to the tournament. They're at the top of the experience and returning production in this league. Plona, junior college head coach, won 88% of his games at Indian Hills. So, I mean, I love that they promoted within. He helped Let's get that thing right off the ground. Year 1, he's familiar with that program now, familiar with these players. Dude, I think Western Kentucky, man, I think that they could get to the dance, and I think they could win a game like you teased out at the beginning of the show.
Alrighty. I question a little bit of the outside shooting here, but outside of that, I mean, Hank Plona was a really good coach. What was his previous stop again? Where he
was
came
at
from?
Indian Hills Community College, which is one of the top JUCOs, and he was 225 and 35. So a lot of wins, not very much losses.
So yeah, I do put faith into him as a coach. Western Kentucky is one of the best home court environments. All the returning production from last year is a really good job from Plona keeping this thing together. They only really lose 3 guys from last year. They bring in 3 guys from the transfer portal. Braxton Bayless from Niagara played 25.5 minutes for the Purple Eagles last season, 11.5 points, 2.5 assists. Blaze Kita comes in from Nebraska. He didn't play last season though. And then Leroy Adio Odi Ahi from Old Dominion. So yeah, but most of this roster is the exact same from last year. Jalen Jackson, Don McHenry, Enoch Kalambe, Tyrone Marshall Jr., Babacar Faye, Christian Lander, 6 deep, all returning from last season, all played 18 minutes or more. The Hilltoppers are going to be a contender in this league once again this season. Mac, let's get to our conference predictions. Our 1 through 10. We're going to start at 10, but where we have each of these teams finishing in the Conference USA for the upcoming year. Mac, I'll let you lead us off.
I think the Owls of Kennesaw will be in the basement at number 10.
Wow, so mean. Going with their line too. I have Kennesaw State 10th as well.
And all that, and then you gave out the same exact pick. Number 9, I got the Airport of FIU, and I think you have the same.
I agree with you as well. The Fighting Pit Bulls.
All right. At number 8, let's go with I think at number 8, I'm going to go with New Mexico State.
I've got Jacksonville State 8th.
Okay. I had Jack State at 7.
I have UTEP 7th.
Okay. At number 6, I had your Red Raiders of Middle Tennessee.
Blue Raiders.
What'd I say?
Red.
Oh, that's Texas Tech. Same thing.
I've got New Mexico State 6th.
Okay.
And they're only my Blue Raiders because they upset Michigan State in the tournament. Let's get that straight.
They did. Kermit Davis once upon a time. At number 5, I got Tink Tink, the UTEP Miners.
All right. I got Middle Tennessee at 5.
This is where it gets good.
Yes, it does. Top 4, I think, all are contenders in my opinion here.
Yeah, the top 4 definitely. At number 4, I think they take a slight step back, Noah. I'm gonna go with Sam Houston at 4.
I'm gonna go with Western Kentucky. Now, I want to preface this by saying they finished 3rd last year.
Mm-hmm.
They lose a couple of pieces from that team. They also lose their head coach. I do believe that Ploma is going to be a really good head coach, and I do believe that this conference is going to be much better than it was last season. If you go and look at last year's standings, there were only 2 teams above 500. I think that's going to change this year. I think that Kennesaw State, FIU, and I'm going to throw Jacksonville State in here too, Mac. I know you're going to hate that, but I think those 3 are going to be kind of donating wins to the top of the standings. And I think 5 or 6 teams are going to be above 500 here in this league this season, unlike last year where there were 6 teams at 500 or below, or actually 7, sorry. I think that Western Kentucky is probably 2 or 3 games above 500, but they finished 4th.
I had the Hilltoppers at 3. I mean, you mentioned it. They were 500 last year. They got hot in March. I think that they're better than they were last year, but I don't think that they're winning the league good yet.
Okay.
Regular season.
I have flipped Sam Houston and Western Kentucky from you. So I have Sam Houston 3rd. So Louisiana Tech and Liberty are the last 2 standing. Mac, who do you have winning the league?
I have the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech at 2, and that means I got Liberty bouncing back, winning the regular season. Them and Sam Houston flip here. I think Sam Houston won it last year. I think they come back a little bit. I think Liberty makes a big jump in year number 2.
I'm with Tyler. I think Louisiana Tech wins this league in the regular season. I'm going with my pick last year, just like you are. I think Liberty's 2nd. I do think that that's a reasonable jump up for the Flames, the Flamin' Libs. But I'm going to go Bulldogs once again. Last year, the only question that we had about Louisiana Tech was what am I trying to find? Was Talvin Hester good enough to get them over that hump? And they were that close. They were a game out in the final week. I think this year that fuels them and they win the regular season back. This conference isn't going to go chalk, right?
No way. What the really top 2 seeds were out before the semis, I think, last year.
Yes.
So who got picked off early last year? Sam Houston
Liberty.
got upset. Liberty did, but I have them winning the regular season. I can't have both. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, Liberty and Sam Houston got picked off early.
Sam Houston gets it done this year. Heartbreak last year, a little bit under the radar this year. Sam Houston, the Bearkats going dancing. Chris Mudge.
I think Richie McKay takes the Flamin' Libs back to the promised land, to the NCAA tournament. Liberty is going to be my pick to win the conference tournament. Neutral floor, I think they'll play a little bit better. My doubts about them being consistent go out the window a little bit there down in Huntsville, Alabama. So
hold on one second. Where is the this? I may Benedict this. Where's
Huntsville.
The conference?
Huntsville.
Alabama?
Yes. You're going Jacksonville State, aren't you?
No,
you yeah, you're fucking smiling here for the audio listeners.
As much as I would like
in Huntsville. I looked at this literally like 2 days ago because we're doing the show with Rocco, and that's Conference USA is going to be my favorite mid-major league this year. This was the conference tournament that I was picking out that I would go to.
If it was closer to Western Kentucky, I was going to Benedict to Western Kentucky. I will say Wichita, Western Kentucky opening night. How about that? That's an under the radar freaking opener here on November 4th.
100%. Your sleeper team compared to the media poll, like I said at the top of the show, media poll had 5 teams receiving first place votes. So Louisiana Tech was voted first place. They had 3 first place votes in the media poll. Western Kentucky was second. They had 2 first place votes. Don't ask me how this worked, but Sam Houston received more first place votes than Western Kentucky, but they're ranked 3rd in the media poll. Middle Tennessee State received 1 title vote, and they were picked 4th. Liberty is picked 5th, received 1 first place vote. UTEP was picked 6th, New Mexico State 7th, Jacksonville State 8th, FIU 9th, Kennesaw State 10th. Mac, I was pretty chalky down at the bottom of the board, 8, 9, 10. But I was much higher on Liberty. And you were too. You had Liberty winning the conference in first place. I had Liberty second, so I think that has to be our sleeper team here. Mm-hmm. Did you have any difference of opinion on your label of a sleeper team here?
No, definitely got to be Liberty. I mean, they were 4th, and I picked them to win the league. For my bus, what did you say they said New Mexico State was?
They were picked 5th. New Mexico State was picked 7th.
Oh.
Liberty was picked 5th. New Mexico State was picked 7th. You're good.
Yeah, I'm getting my numbers mixed
You asked questions back to back and then started talking.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I'm already in mid-season form. Yeah, I'm answering my own questions and then just moving on. I would say definitely Liberty because you said they're 5th in the preseason poll, and I had them 1st.
So bust. Who do you have for bust? New Mexico State was ranked 7th in the media poll.
Yeah, that's not really a bust because it's only 1 spot below. Sam Houston, no, they were picked 3rd. I had them 4th.
Yeah.
I don't really have a bust.
You can go off of last year's regular season standings. I will give you a bust prediction for Sam Houston. They finished 1st last year. They finished 4th. I think that's good enough.
They win the
tournament. And then for my bust, I also probably have to go from last year's regular season standings because I didn't vary too much, I guess, from bust terms. And looking at last year's regular season standings, I am going to choose UTEP as my bust, I think.
Okay.
They finished tied for 4th. I have them 7th. So, yeah.
I was just doing a quick glance on just like right through KenPom on all these teams, just seeing who all their openers are with. The one that's definitely got the most marquee game is Western Kentucky opening up in Bowling Green against Wichita.
Sam Houston's at Nevada.
Yeah, Sam Houston was number 2 on my list. But the fact
that's number 1 on my list.
Well, I mean, the fact Western Kentucky is getting Wichita to come to them.
Yeah.
In terms of like spotlight game for that program.
Is that a home game for them?
Yeah, it's at Western Kentucky. It's in Bowling Green.
Yeah, it is, and that's a good game.
That place will be jumping, especially out of coming off the NCAA tournament last year.
Yeah, 100%. And for the record, I'm just looking off the top of my dome, not doing our compilation here. I don't know if there's a cocktail napkin team in this league. Maybe Kennesaw State. I think they're going to be worse than FIU. They're possession better than FIU on KenPom, so I think we're going to be a little bit more negative on the Owls this season. But yeah, that's about it. That's going to wrap up today's Conference USA college basketball preview. D'Angelo Delgado in the YouTube chat asks,
great question,
which conferences are left? And boy, oh boy, did we have, just nothing went right last week for the schedule. Like Max said, rest in peace, fly high to Amir Abdur-Rahim, but that kind of threw a wrench in the entire back half of the week plans. So tonight, Sunday night, we're doing Conference USA. We're also doing Ivy League basically right after this, previewing the Ivy League. Monday night, we are recording live the interview with Rocco Miller. We're basically doing like the college basketball's dream live attendance schedule. So like if you were to travel every single week for the best basketball games in the week, but we do have some rules mixed in. So like every conference is going to be represented. We're not going to have too many teams that, the same team too many times during one season. So there's some rules there. Right after that, we're going to preview the Big West. Tuesday, we're going to do the A10, the Atlantic 10. And then right after that is the college football pick show with Colby, who's currently doing his own road trip, moving his entire family from California to North Carolina. That's been a hoot. And then Wednesday, we're going to preview the SoCon and West Coast Conference. Thursday, we're going to preview the American Athletic Conference. Friday, this is going to be a new show for us. We've never done this before. Preseason prediction shows. We're going to probably do our Elite Eight, Final Four predictions. We're going to give out our favorite conference championship futures bets. I'm also maybe, if I have time, going to do a bracketology projection. We'll see. And we might have NC Nick and Colby. We might not have NC Nick or Colby. It is all up. Schedule's all up in the air for the next week or so. But that is right now what tentatively we have. Mac, that's going to wrap up the Conference USA college basketball preview show. You can follow Mac.
That was impressive how you just ran through that.
The schedule?
Yeah. You're battling the cold, and you ran right through the schedule. You powered through it. I'm impressed. I was here if you needed me. I had your text message pulled up. I was ready. I was like a relief pitcher, ready if you need me. But hey, you powered through it. We're on to the 9th inning.
Yvetta's asking if she can get a text of the calendar as well. I don't know if I can sync it to the iPhone. I'm not that tech savvy. Tyler says, thanks, fellas. Sounds like a great couple of weeks. 100% live every single night, previewing the entire slate of games, every game against the spread and money line. Even on those gigantic Saturday slates with 112 games, we're Moneyline Mac, myself, and Colby Dent previewing all of those things. But yeah, this has been a great show. Thank you all for tuning in. You can follow Mac on Twitter at Moneyline_Mac, myself on Twitter at NoahB77_, the show on Twitter at TCESGPN. This has been the college basketball experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.